When the worship committee asked if I could give today's sermon, I thought, are you kidding? No way. I'm one of the folks in charge of the service auction the next week. Not happening, impossible. So of course I said yes. But I did warn that I would make it all about the service auction. And so it is. After the winter we just went through, Iris Mirelez and I knew the theme for this year's biggest and most awesome fundraising event should be Beltane, the final and hottest of the 3 Gaelic springtime fertility rites. It's the one with fires and maypoles and giddy lads and lasses dashing about like crazy people because everything's green and growing and the summer warmth is pouring in and winter's just this ridiculous memory instead of something horrible we've just barely left behind. We wanted to give our fellowship a chance to celebrate, really celebrate. And we knew that this would be a big year, an important year, as we show each other and the new minister we hope to attract just how amazing we are at having a great time while supporting our community. So I called this sermon, The Spring of Hope. But it turns out there's a lot of other really great stuff to talk about besides a service auction when you want to talk about hope. What's a garden? Hope. What's a family? Hope. What's going to the movies? Hope. What's the concession stand all about? Hope. What's the guy and girl sitting in the way back of the theater all about? Definitely hope. I felt like my brain had just turned into Google search and come back with one of those messages saying, showing 484 million results out of many. So I won't subject you to 15 minutes of come play at the service auction next Saturday night and practice hope. But I will tell you that the raffle baskets this year are amazing. Check them out in the gathering space. And you don't even have to be there to win. And you're not going to believe how awesome the decorations and activities are going to be. And the action with Carol Narrigan as your auctioneer is going to be so much fun. Okay, got it out of my system, I swear. Like most faiths, the Miami Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship congregation comes together each week as a community of faith and hope. And hope shows up here in 3 major ways. I'll start with the individual hope, for our faith communities to be a place of personal belonging. Here at MVUUF, we make that happen in all sorts of ways. During Sunday service, we make sure our children are included and given a safe, nurturing place to grow. We light candles together, and some of our thoughts are read aloud from our community book. We hold conversations with each other in the gathering space and in the covenant groups and small group dinners. It was great last night, guys, thanks. And the ministries that meet throughout Sunday and the week. We share updates on Facebook and through our email lists. We get to be recognized in our human vulnerability, celebrated for our achievements, and supported by others when we need it most. And then we do the same for them. That's one of the best things churches and synagogues and temples and mosques do, I think, is they provide that sense of tribal community support that we don't often experience in today's society. I saw a powerful example of this on a Sunday back in 2005 when I walked into my first Unitarian church ever in California. I started telling people I just arrived and I needed a job and a place to live. And not only did someone connect me with the amazing apartment right by the water that they'd be leaving in a few weeks, but I found out about a local paper that ended up hiring me. And I met the people who would become my circle of friends for my entire 5 years in Monterey and beyond. That's a really great family. But this can be a tough expectation for a church to live up to. Has anyone here ever felt the urge to leave a faith community because their personal needs weren't being met? It happens. Just last month, I learned why my mom left the Episcopal church I'd grown up in as I was finishing high school. She told me that while at the service for my confirmation class, the congregation sang one of her favorite hymns. Mom sang joyfully along, and when it was over and everyone was sitting down, the woman in front of her turned and said, "It was better before you started singing." Yeah, can you imagine? That tells you a lot about how that person had been hurt growing up. Well, my mom never went back to that church, and as far as I know, she never sang in public again. A hurt like that is a violation of hope, because every time we come together, we do so in hope. Hope of acceptance, hope of appreciation, of allowing, of attention, hope of a welcoming love. And for many of us, like my mom, a church is often the only family we have. A faith community has a calling to provide that welcoming haven. We know how important belonging is because how many billions of us around the world have learned to bend and contort ourselves in all sorts of ways in our efforts to fit in a faith community, to belong, to receive their support. The disappointment when those efforts fail, when someone deliberately or accidentally rejects our song, our caring, our love, our full selves, when we learn that here, even here, we can be hurt, then our personal level hope is in trouble. I'm sorry to admit this to any of our visitors, but this congregation too includes actual human beings. That means that we too sometimes fall short in creating a space of belonging. We get uncomfortable with someone, or some of the lines in a sermon make us feel unwelcome or unsafe. We make changes to tribal rituals that we hold dear, like last fall when we changed how we share our joys and sorrows. But I'm happy to tell you that MVUUF does a lot of things right. I first came to the area in 2011, not long after this congregation committed to helping each other create a safe space for people to belong. It's a system called a covenant of right relations, and it helps us to remember what our faith is all about, that we are each human beings with rights to our own thoughts, feelings, and needs, that it's important to communicate about them in clear and respectful ways, and that we truly can live in such a way that those rights are honored and our humanity respected as we journey together toward our shared goals. Not that we're going to do it perfectly, but that we're at least going to make that effort. One thing I'm very excited about is that we're taking this to the next level. By now, we've established a solid base where we do demonstrate respect and caring on a daily basis, and we attempt to resolve our conflicts in some pretty mature ways. Although if anyone wants to donate a mud wrestling pit for the service auction, I'm sure that will be very fun and very welcome. We're now launching a project that I'm excited about where members of the congregation can train to become pastoral associates. These are people who step in to offer help and hope when challenges come up in people's lives. We're spreading the wealth of compassionate support in our community, and it's worth getting excited about. My biggest hope for MVUUF this year, besides raising a lot of money at the service auction, is that the Pastoral Associates program takes off big time. So that's the hope for individuals in a faith community, the chance to engage as a supportive and celebratory family while enjoying opportunities to grow and serve and give back and learn. So let's talk more about that second part. Beyond the personal is hope for a larger community, beyond the walls of this congregation. When humans come together in faith, we tend to talk about serving a greater good. We talk about clothing the poor, feeding the hungry, protecting widows and children and all people in need. And sometimes we actually do it. Many congregations are beginning to talk about protecting our planet's ecosystem and advocating for social justice at a systemic level and other actions that require a larger and more long-term vision. These desires to make a larger difference require more than just one or two people. They require a full community, and they demonstrate hope at a truly fundamental level. A faith group is, by definition, a rejection of despair, of the belief that we are hopelessly helpless in the face of all that's wrong with the world. So when we do fall short, disappointment here can be a little harder to manage. When we're disappointed in our quest for belonging, most of us still retain that hope that if we go to a different place or find some different way of interacting, then we'll finally find a place where that's just right, where we do fit in. When we're disappointed in our hopes for making a better world, the struggle can be even more profound. Because what do you do when you see the same homeless people coming back for a meal at St. Vincent's month after month, year after year? How do you keep going when the anti-fracking legislation and human trafficking bills and efforts to continue affirmative action keep getting ignored or struck down by those in power? And it's hard to drum up volunteers to keep taking action. What motivates you to continue cleaning up the litter at your favorite metro park when there's an oil slick in its stream? This is where a faith community can be truly powerful. Because beyond just a social action club or an organization that fights for a particular cause, we can really turn to each other for encouragement and for a reminder of a larger faith. I can ask Alice or Maureen or Lynn or Anwil to remind me why we care about social justice no matter what. I can ask Gary or Dave or Genevieve or Kate to help me get in touch with people at the metro parks and organize a broader effort. I can come to my covenant group, grateful for the safe space we've created, and share my grief and know that I am heard and loved anyway. They may even volunteer to help me get back up and take on the world again. So that's where hope helps us to get through in helping out the larger community. And it brings us to the third major hope in a faith community. This is the space we come to seek connection with the call of the sacred, whether we perceive it as a higher power coming from beyond ourselves or a deeper self rising from within. This, I believe, is an essential hope. We humans are unique, as far as I know, in being motivated to look beyond what we can see and touch and listen to and experience. We crave something that is the ultimate mystery, the definition of undefinable. I know that when I was small, I craved spirit because I craved belonging. I craved a father figure, even if he had to be some kind of cloud god, and I craved a goddess of strength and heroism to show me how to be brave and do what's right in the world from a place of feminine power. From people who had larger families than me and lots of sibling rivalry, I've heard a desire for a God of a great aloneness, a profound silence, a safe being who simply leans in, gazes on them, and listens. However we envision the sacred, we seem to have a deep in our bones need to do that seeking alone, but to commune about what we seek together. Millions of pilgrims plunge into rivers in India and cross the Middle Eastern deserts together each year. Homesteaders gather for prayer circles in prairie homes. Tribes around the world hold fire-lit rituals that gather everyone. And Catholics perform beautiful Sunday morning ceremonies in cathedrals. We hope for God together. We grieve with the goddess together. We give thanks for spiritual blessings together. We remind each other that even in our aloneness, we belong to something sacred beyond ourselves. Whether it's humanity or nature or spiritual energy or a deity of some form, we remind each other to live in hope of even deeper connection. And more often than not, our hopes are realized. One of the great spiritual practices of all traditions is gratitude. We are encouraged by our priests and our ascetics and our grandmothers and our shamans to notice the miracles around us in every moment. That we woke up this morning, that we were born at all, that the water is flowing, that the garden grows, that we have just enough fruit, just enough rain, just enough medicine and good health to enjoy life for another day. What all three of these aspects, the personal, the larger world, and the sacred, have in common is they remind us that we need each other to keep up our hopes. In good times and in struggles, I hope, I believe, I have faith, I trust that together we are capable and confident and competent. We are a strong and loving community, providing collective support for each other's physical and emotional and spiritual needs. We have a vision for the future that aims for the stars, but has goals we can reach with just a few steps every day. Which reminds me, as it turns out, one of the best metaphors for hope that I did find for this spring is the service auction. Sorry, stay with me. There's the hope that your bid, whether it's a 25-cent raffle ticket or a $250 fishing trip, will win what you're dreaming of. There's the hope that your donations will help the auction raise plenty of money for our fellowship so we can continue to grow and serve each other and our wider community. There's the hope that the food and beverages are as mind-bogglingly good as promised. CQ is saying yes, yes, it will be. And that our bellies and brains will forgive us in the morning. And there's the hope that all of the fun pays off and will support the work of this congregation for the year to come. It's worth hoping for. And I'm so glad to be hoping together with a faith community like ours. Thank you.